Hey, this is Joe from Citrus County Porch Life bringing you the AA Word of the Day. And the word of the day for today, Thursday, January 16th, 2025, is hitting bottom. But before I get into that, I want to say what a beautiful day it is here. It's cool. That cold front came down. That's okay. I love it. It's about, I don't know, 55. But the air is so crisp, so nice to breathe in. You can smell that it's different than that humid stuff that we're used to down here. So it's so nice being out on the porch doing these. I took my cat to get his nails clipped this morning, and that was a piece of work because he knew he was going and he hid. It took me a long time to find him, but he's okay now. So the word is hitting bottom. And this is the quote: why all this insistence that every AA must hit bottom first? The answer is that few people will sincerely try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. For practicing AA's remaining 11 steps means the adoption of attitudes and actions that almost no alcoholic who is still drinking can dream of taking. And that is from the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you can see it's on page 24. So it's early in the book. We are starting off with step one. And here's a daily reflections on it. Hitting bottom opened my mind and I became willing to try something different. What I tried was AA. My new life in the fellowship was a little like learning how to ride a bike for the first time. AA became my training wheels and my supporting hand. It is not that I wanted the help so much at the time. I simply did not want to hurt like that again. My desire to avoid hitting bottom again was more powerful than my desire to drink. In the beginning, that was what kept me sober. But after a while, I found myself working the steps to the best of my ability. I soon realized that my attitudes and actions were changing, if ever so slightly. One day at a time, I became comfortable with myself and others, and my hurting started to heal. That God for the training wheels, Thank God for the training wheels and supporting hand that I chose to call Alcoholics Anonymous. What a beautiful passage. I've mentioned before that when I started in AA, I went to mostly morning meetings because I was getting out of work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'd go to an 8 o'clock meeting, and I get there at 7:30, quarter of eight, and then a 10 o'clock meeting. And in between the 8 and the 10, I go by Dunkin' Donuts, get a coffee, maybe a muffin, and that would be my breakfast. Then I'd do a 10 o'clock meeting. But as I got more comfortable, uh, I wanted to go to a night meeting to see what it was like because there were a lot more night meetings. So when I got transferred to Bank of Boston from the bank I was working in Rhode Island, I had a schedule of on 3 12-hour shifts and off for 4 days. So I knew that I could go to meetings at night and not be dragging. And so that's what I did. And the first one that I ever went to was a meeting in a gigantic Episcopal church, almost like a cathedral. And they had the great room, they called it, where they had the meetings. And then off to the side was a smaller kitchen meeting room, and that's where they had the beginners meeting. So they strongly encouraged beginners to go to the meeting. And so I went, and very judgmental in those days. I don't like this person. I don't like the look of that person. Or they look like a serial killer. Typical alcoholic thinking. But what we did every week is we read step one. We read step one, and I remember this quote so very clearly. And I had hit bottom. I didn't have a bottom like other people. I never ended up in jail, never got arrested. Uh, I got some tickets, but that's when I was sober. And I got stopped, but one time I got stopped at the top of the hill. It was 55 miles an hour, and down the bottom it was 25. It was like a speed trap. But then when the guy saw it was from the same town, he didn't give me a ticket, just a warning. He said, "Watch that." So um, I didn't have those. I had a good job. I made a lot of money. I didn't have any worries, but it was my mind and my health that I was worried about. I mentioned when I had my appendix out, I saw the doctor afterwards, and he said I had a fatty liver. I said, "Well, what causes that?" He said, "Mostly drinking. Do you drink a lot?" And of course, I lied. Early on, in my drinking, every chance I had to tell someone I needed help, I passed by. They didn't know what they were talking about. So I began to worry about that. I started looking it up, and I didn't want to get hepatitis, alcohol-induced hepatitis from fatty liver, but I still didn't stop drinking. But it was in my mind, and I remember one time I woke up after a long, long night of drinking, and it was my day off, and I went to get a glass of soda. I wasn't trying to drink a beer, and I couldn't hold it. I was shaking so bad. So that was more of a wake-up call. Yeah, I thought it was these bums, drinking rot gut whiskey and stuff that got that. Not someone that had a degree, had a good job with the bank, uh, held that job for many years. So, but eventually I hit bottom. I knew the game was up, as Sherlock Holmes says, and so I went to seek help, and this is exactly what we did. And I love the first step. I love it. The big one for me, the big thing. I wasn't comfortable with myself. I could not when I was drinking. One thing I like to do is read. I read all day now, but I couldn't do that before. I just could not sit down. It's like I had ants in my pants, and it says, one day at a time, I became comfortable with myself. That is me. And I didn't like the bottom. They get a kind of help. Hurt, it's on a scale. If you're hurting too much, will you get the help? And that's what I did. Uh, and as I became a member of AA, I kind of lost that feeling that many of us have, a feeling of terminal uniqueness, that no one understands me, because everybody understood me. They had different stories, but they understood what I was feeling. Some of them in their stories even I could repeat it. So I was so happy when I felt like that. I finally walked into a meeting. I didn't shy away from people. I went over, shook their hand. That first night, I can remember all the people coming up and introducing themselves to me. And My biggest fear, drinking or not drinking, was that I'm never going to remember these names. But eventually I came to know all of them. And yeah, step one is wonderful. Really, really wonderful. When you get into it, and if you can find a meeting that has a beginners group, that's even better because they have very experienced people lead that beginners group. And eventually I read one and led one, and it was great. It was great to see people wake up and just so sick of the pain, see AA as an alternative. So I don't want to go on too long. It's almost 11 minutes. So God bless. Have a safe and sober day.